Today we're going to talk about my camping, hiking, backpack thing. Yeah. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about are the tools that I decided to take with me on my camping trips, my hikes and stuff. Tools are really subjective, obviously, depending on what kind of terrain that I might be coming across or the task that I decide to take on. The shovel is a Russian sapper shovel. So the Soviet sapper shovel is quite iconic when you think about the history and just some of the backstory that goes into this design. The actual name of the shovel is the MPL 50. I can't remember what MPL stands for, but 50 is in reference to how long the shovel actually is. The shovel dates back to 1984 with the Soviet army, but was later adopted by the Russian army. The OTK-1 reference, which is stamped on the head of the shovel and on the stamp, is in reference to the quality control that the shovel goes through. So if it has OTK-1, you know that it was fit for service and was issued to Soviet and Russian troops. Now the hatchet's a lot less interesting. This is a Magnuson 450 gram camp hatchet, and essentially, honestly, it does the job. It's in no way the type of hatchet that you would class as a bushcraft hatchet. It's definitely for splitting wood. Now this is my kind of, at the moment, main primary blade that I've been using. This Ranger band allows me to carry the blade horizontally on the back of my belt. The blade itself is about 6 inches long, roughly, and it's a drop point blade, so it's actually great for stabbing. I don't need it to be great for stabbing, but you know, this knife is your classic Bowie knife design, which for me is just a bit of an iconic one to have in the woodlands, and I really enjoy using this knife. The next set of items I'm going to show you are from the front compartment of my rucksack, and are essentially my fieldcraft and fastening kits. So essentially what I like to have there is quick, easy, accessible items that aren't necessarily from my Impossibles pouch. We'll get to that in a minute. To talk about the fire creating aspect of the bag, I like to have lots of redundancies, so that if, say, my lighter that I carry with me all the time in my pocket, if my lighter was to go out, I have a backup. One of my best go-tos is one of the match containers, which are waterproof and float. And what I keep in here is just some cotton wool, which is doused in petroleum jelly, so that it burns longer. I also have a very small glow stick inside of my matches, which is gives off enough light if you were to need to read a bit of text or to read a map or something along those lines at night. The next item I'm going to talk about is my actual fire creating kit. Essentially in here, this is the backup to the matches, natural tinder sources, or that small cotton wool ball. If I can't get any started with that cotton wool ball, this will end up getting taken out if I don't have any other natural sources of tinder. Again, redundancies and backups for if the main alternatives were to fail. The fire steel would be the last resort, really. There's nothing much you can do to stop this from creating a spark. This is just brilliant for my camp stove. Camp stove doesn't have a spark on it. It's for whatever reason. So I need to carry some sort of way of making a spark if I have my camp stove, otherwise I can't cook. Next item I'm going to talk about is hand warmers and feet warmers. They're pretty self-explanatory. With being outdoors, in Scotland, it's very cold and unforgiving. Next item I'm going to talk about is this small leather pouch. In here I literally just keep anything that I could use for fastening things together or doing any kind of things like that. The next item I want to talk about is my backup knife. If I was to get rid of all the tools in my pack, this would be the tool that I would take. I thought it would be a bit silly not to mention my folding saw, which again comes with me everywhere. I like to have bigger tools, so I like to do a lot of bushcraft, a lot of actual camp chores. The next items I want to talk about are my kind of cook kit. So sometimes you need to take a stove with you. And in this case, this is the stove I have. It is your classic little Boy Scout stove. Everybody's seen them. Everybody's owned one or used one. They're lightweight, they're compact, and they get the job done. And then of course the next thing we have is gas, which would obviously actually make the stove work. You don't need to buy Primus gas, but Primus gas has been known to be one of the better gases for working at higher altitudes and at colder temperatures. But if you are looking for gas to perform in those conditions, your best bet is a propane / isobutane mix. Next item I'm going to talk about is the camp pot that I take. This is actually my dad's old camp pot. It served me so well. It is beaten, battered, bruised, thrown around. Cook out with this, I eat it with this, I drink it with this. This is my everything. I don't need a cup, I don't need a plate, I don't need a bowl. I have my pot, and I also have my cookware, which I will probably upgrade to a spork. So in here is, as you can guess by the scissors and the patch, this is my first aid kit, but it's also my impossibles pouch. So I have things like a compass, again another spare lighter, matches, I've got sewing kit, so I've got lots of patch supplies in here as well. So things like zip ties for patching or fastening various bits of gear together, patch kit as well for my blow up mat. And I have different sections and lengths of tarp material, so that if I need to glue some tarp holes together, I can do that. I also have a compass, batteries, various other items that I might possibly need. Torches going out, I have the batteries, my phone's died, I have the compass. So, and the way this kind of kit works is I've just got kind of like randoms here, mix of both worlds, and then this is all first aid, this bottom section, and this top half is all kind of random bits and bobs that I might possibly need. Next thing I'm going to talk about is obviously food and water on trail. So for me, I like to purify water if I am out and about for a long period, but depending if it's a day trip where I'm just going away for a night, I'll maybe only take 3 to 4 litres of water with me, enough to clean, cook and wash with. I just go for your cheaper kind of freeze-dried foods that are easy to cook. In this kind of dry bag, this is essentially just my waterproof kit. This is a waterproof jacket. I have a pair of waterproof socks, which are not a gimmick by the way, and genuinely work. Spare face mask, one that you'd kind of wear skiing, and just various things to keep me warm and dry if the weather changes on. The next item I have is the BCB International Self-Inflating Sleeping Mat. Now, I haven't actually used this item yet. This is one of the newer pieces of kit that I've added to my bag, but I'm excited to give this a shot. The reason why I purchased the BCB one is because when I was a scout, when I was a younger guy, I basically seen so many people using these, and I don't think it was a fad. I think there was a reason for it. The next item I have is my tent, which is the Richmond 1 Grand Canyon one person tent, or is it 1.5? I'm not too sure. I think it's a one-man tent because it is very small and cramped. I've had absolutely no issues with this tent. It survived multiple trips. I've done the NC 500 with this, and yeah, that is the Grand Canyon Richmond 1. I just thought about it. Richmond 1 one-man tent. It's literally in the title. This item here is my sleeping bag. It is kept inside of a Nick Wax dry bag, and the reason why is just so that 1, I have a dry bag, 2, my sleeping bag stays dry, because that would be a terrible night, and 3, I don't even necessarily use dry bags that much, but what I found this bag to be really good for is a kneeling mat. When I'm out in the wild, instead of getting cold wet knees, I can set up camp and then use this as a mat to kneel on. Sure, if it was on rocks it would probably hurt, but when you're on just soft mushy ground, using this as a kneeling mat does the job. Now in the brain of my backpack, or the top, the roof, whatever you want to call it, I essentially keep things that I know that I'm going to need, that are 100% you're going to take your bag off your back and you're going to access this item. So that is gloves, face covering, torches and a snack. I actually only got this for £10 or probably about $9 US, but this is probably one of the best flashlights or torches I've had in my life. It is really bright, and does the job when you're out in the outdoors. Again, this is just a simple Energizer head torch. The next piece of kit I tend to carry with me is my camera bag. So this oftentimes carries my action camera, which is the Ace Pro. But yeah, overall this is just my camera bag. If you guys want more stuff on camera equipment that I use in the outdoors, let me know. I can make a whole video on what I take out, my whole setup, what I do. Just need to let me know. I have 2 mountain warehouse poles on here, 2 trekking poles. Totally new to trekking poles. I can't even make any comment on trekking poles. It's something I'm newly getting into. I've recently realised that I've actually got bad knees. To the point that I've actually had to give up running, that my knees are getting injured that much. So I've decided to get the trekking poles to make the sensor a little bit easier. But yeah, this is the Carry On 65 litre pack. It is a framed backpack, and yeah, it just does the job. It keeps everything in my bag organised. It keeps my gear easily distributed across my back. For the price range, this pack is pretty hard to beat. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe and like. And if you have anything to say about the kit or about myself, please feel free to leave a comment down below.